Thanks very much, David. Let me start with a public opinion survey that was done with 20,000 people across the European Union. I mean, some of these things are propaganda, but this one's real. If you look at the responses that people gave, does investing in protecting the environment, is that good for economic growth? 77% of people said yes. And if you look at what they said before the crisis, it was 66%. I sometimes wonder whether our elected leaders have got that message or not. Second figure, if you look at the top concerns of people across Europe in terms of the environment, you'll find waste is up there, number 4 or 5. And more importantly, since the economic crisis, it's the fastest growing issue of interest or concern among the European public as far as the environment is concerned. Third figure, if you ask people what have they done to help the environment themselves, top of the list is recycling. Question, with those kinds of figures, is this an industry to be worried about or not? Is this an industry that's got a bright future or not? I would suggest that those figures show that this industry has got a long-term and bright future. Let me take the short term. If we were to implement everything that's on the table already, so no new legislation, but everything that's on the table already in terms of targets for waste management in Europe, the turnover in this industry, we estimate, would go up by 1/3. There would be 400,000 new jobs right across Europe, and greenhouse gas emissions would be cut by an equivalent of 20 to 30% of our target for 2020, largely because of landfill. So the short-term gains, what other industry is in that position? What about the long term? How do you get to achieve the targets that we've got on recycling and landfill? We're talking about things like charges for landfill, pay-as-you-throw schemes. We're talking about extended producer responsibility for handling materials. We're talking about better design of products to make them more sustainable. That will help us achieve the short-term targets that will generate the turnover and increased employment in this industry. But they will also lead to an economy which is more and more circular. And if you think about our current model, where you've got a manufacturer that takes raw materials, transforms them into a product, shifts it onto a wholesaler, shifts it onto a retailer, shifts it onto a consumer, and nobody cares about disposal. If that was in the finance industry, you'd be talking about toxic derivatives. So ultimately, if we've got those kinds of policies in place to get the targets achieved, we're talking about moving towards a circular economy. So my question is, can this industry take advantage of the short-term gains to innovate so that in the long term it's well placed to advise on companies that are using new business models in the circular economy? Thanks.